Breaking news tonight, P did it. Did Sean Diddy Combs order $1 million hit on Tupac Shakur? Bail documents say, oh yes he did. Good evening, I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us.
New allegations made against disgraced rapper Sean Diddy Combs.
Well, the walls are falling in around Sean Puffy, a.k.a. Diddy Combs. As we learn in court documents, he is named 77 times at least as it relates to the murder of Tupac Shakur. Now, it's a very long and circuitous explanation, but what it boils down to is the East Coast, West Coast feud and allegations that he offered $1 million for the death of Tupac Shakur, even making a phone call just after the hit, claiming, was that me? Like somebody else ordered a hit? Joining me an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now, but listen.
Things are not looking good for Sean Diddy Combs. In addition to lawsuits, raids, federal investigation, and a secret grand jury, the only living suspect in Tupac Shakur's murder now implicates Puff Daddy in the September 7, 1996 drive-by shooting. A recent court filing for Duane Keefe D. Davis' upcoming murder trial mentions Puffy 77 times. While Vegas police confirm that Combs has never been and is not a suspect, the mogul's silence is deafening.
Okay, you got to take into account that Keefe D wants bail and could be willing to say anything to get it. But here's the problem with that argument. This document has been buried away for a long time under wraps. It was a proffer. What is a proffer? A proffer is when you go outside the jury's presence, typically in the judge's chamber, sometimes close the courtroom, and you tell the judge what you're going to bring into evidence because you need a ruling whether it's admissible or inadmissible. Sometimes that proffer of evidence can be so volatile, if you put it in front of a jury before it's allowed, you have a mistrial. It can be that volatile, that inflammatory, and that's what this document is. Never meant to see the light of day. Where Sean Puffy Combs is named, we know of 77 times in the murder, the hit on Tupac Shakur. It wasn't supposed to come out. Well, it has. You know what? How did the whole thing start? Listen.
The East Coast-West Coast rap feud begins with the near death of Tupac Shakur at Quad Records, Manhattan. Tupac's invited to record when he's attacked by 3 armed men and shot 5 times, but lives. Vibe magazine says that Sean Puffy Combs and Notorious B.I.G. were both at the studio and may have known Shakur was being set up.
Tupac's belief Puffy and Big knew about the Quad Records attack adds to the feud between Combs' East Coast Bad Boy Records and Suge Knight's West Coast Death Row Records. It escalates when Tupac Shakur, Suge Knight, and Mob Piru associates run into Southside Crip Baby Lane Anderson at the Vegas Mike Tyson Bruce Seldon fight.
Good gravy. And that goes back to forever ago. You know what? Let's figure out what's happening. Straight out to Lauren Collin joining us, investigative reporter, host of the Outlier podcast, and co-host of Primetime Crime on YouTube. Lauren, thank you for being with us. Listen. Have you ever seen Raiders of the Lost Ark? And I believe it's the Ark of the Covenant that is, in the end, Indiana Jones gets it, and it's put in a cardboard box and sealed up, and it's carted away, and it's put on the bottom shelf of something that looks like the storage room for the Smithsonian. Never to be seen again. This document has cracked open the murder of Tupac Shakur wide open. Tell me about it.
Yes, Keefe D absolutely never thought this would see the light of day. He is very upset in court. He said, "You broke the proffer agreement. I told you all this because I was on a task force to help the LAPD figure out who killed Tupac and also who killed Biggie Smalls. He was helping with both of these things. So in response to his bail request, the state put out this 179-page document, which is extremely. They are saying, look, Duane Davis, look, Keefe D, if you can be paid for murder, then why should you be out on the streets?
Okay, you know what? Daryl Cohen, a former felony prosecutor, he's handled his share of murder cases. Now, defense attorney, Daryl Cohen, explain in more simple terms, if you can, what is a proffer and why this document naming Sean Puffy Combs as ordering the hit on Tupac Shakur, $1 million hit, was never supposed to see the light of day.
Nancy, before there's a trial, when there's a trial, we have what's called opening statement. That's when the lawyer says he or she anticipates this is the evidence that's going to happen from their side. A proffer, back up a little bit, back up before trial. This is a document or a video or an oral statement that says, this is why we are here. This is what I anticipate that you guys will find, guys being plural for or male, female, doesn't matter. This is what I anticipate you're going to find, and this is what I'm telling you has happened. But you got to keep it quiet, because if somebody finds out, I'm toast.
Guys, now, in addition to all of the other issues closing in on Sean Puffy Combs, is he going to be charged in the murder of Tupac Shakur? Now, the feds say he has never been a suspect. He is not a suspect. Okay, I'll take that with a box of salt. Let's go back to how the whole thing started.
Tupac Shakur, along with Suge Knight and members of their entourage, which include members of Mob Piru, came to Vegas to attend the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Members of the Southside Compton Crips, which included Davis, along with his nephew Orlando Anderson, were also in attendance at the same event. As both were leaving the fight, members of Death Row Records spotted Orlando Anderson near an elevator bank inside the MGM, and at that time they began to kick and punch him near that elevator bank. Following this incident, Tupac and Suge Knight both left the MGM to make their way to a post-fight party, which was to occur at a local nightclub. At the same time, word had spread amongst members of the Southside Compton Crips of what had occurred inside the MGM. That's when Duane Davis began to devise a plan to obtain a firearm and retaliate against Suge Knight and Mr. Shakur for what occurred inside the hotel against Mr. Anderson.
So, Robert Crispin, joining us formally with the Federal Task Force for the U.S. DOJ, now at Crispin Special Investigations, you're telling me, see, I don't buy this for 1 minute, that the whole hit on Tupac Shakur was over a fight at the MGM elevator bank the night of the Tyson fight? It's a lot deeper than that.
I mean, this goes way back so deep. I'm sure maybe that's where they just wanted to start it from, to kind of deflect from all the other stuff that's been going on. I don't know. But if I could just run back to this proffer letter real quick, which in the federal side, after you've been arrested, you know, you do the 5K1, or before you've been arrested, you do the 5K1, which is cooperating with the government and going in and proffering what you know and what can you do to help the government's case accelerate and go further and identify more conspirators, i.e., obviously he then became a police informant. I'm sure you're going to find out undercover calls were there. There were meetings out in New York. There were meetings all over the place, meaning, and we call them chance encounters with the government, meaning we follow you, Nancy, and you go to a gas station and I send the informant in to get gas right next to you. And lo and behold, it's, hey, Nancy, wow, so funny to run into you. And the next thing you know, we start that conversation, or you start that conversation with the informant who's wearing a wire or a digital recorder, and randomly at some gas station.
Yeah, you know what, Robert Crispin, I think a lot of you, but I got, where's this going? Could you wrap it up, please? You put it tight.
I'm just saying, I'm sure I'm sure that probably tipped the scale that night, and that got them upset. That's when they went to get the gun, and that's when they went and did what they did. Sure.
Okay, that I understand. Hey, let's see that video again. The whole thing is caught on video. Here is the brawl that breaks out at the elevator bank at the MGM Grand the night of the Tyson fight. Okay, check it out. And remember, Davis, along with nephew Orlando Anderson, are there. Okay, they're leaving the Tyson fight. Death Row Records peeps spot Orlando Anderson, and they began to viciously attack him. Okay, after this attack caught on video, Davis gets a gun. Listen.
After Davis obtained a gun, he entered into a white Cadillac along with Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Orlando Anderson. As they were in the white Cadillac, Mr. Davis took the gun that he had obtained and provided it to the passengers in the rear. As they were driving west on Flamingo Road near Koval, they located the black BMW, which was driven by Suge Knight, and in the passenger seat was Tupac Shakur. And as they turned around, they pulled up near the passenger side of that vehicle and immediately began shooting at Mr. Knight and Mr. Shakur.
Shakur is hit 4 times in the chest. Suge Knight is grazed in the head by a bullet fragment. Tupac Shakur dies 6 days later.
Okay, so that's the response. Karen Stark joining me, a renowned TV and radio trauma expert. You can find her at KarenStark.com. That's Karen with a C if you're looking for her. Karen, so a fight goes down, okay? The nephew gets beat up and beaten up really badly. And instead of like most people would call police or 911, what do? Davis goes and gets a gun. They jump in the white Cadillac and they go looking for Shakur and they find him. Now, explain to me that response, because I bet if you got beat up or your husband, Mark, got beaten up, you would not go get a gun, hop in a Cadillac, and try to chase the people down. You'd call 911 and police. So what is this?
Well, I'm not part of a gang, Nancy. So you're talking about a whole different culture where they get angry. They've been angry, I really believe, before this even happened. Because why did they beat him up? So this whole feud is going on. And their response to the fight is, I think I'm just going to go kill him, because they wanted to do that. They've been ordered to do that anyway. So they needed some kind of an excuse. That's why it's not the kind of thing where you say, oh, there's a fight, let me call the police. They're going to handle this themselves.
So here's the way it goes down to Lauren Conlon joining us, host of The Outlier. The nephew, the younger nephew of Keefe D, who is Duane Davis, the younger nephew is Orlando Davis. He's the one that gets beaten up. I mean, yes, thank you. He is the one that gets beaten up horribly, kicked in the gut. Let's see the video again. He's kicked. I'm surprised he didn't get killed, because he's being kicked viciously right there in the lobby of the MGM, for Pete's sake. And people are just milling around like nothing's happening, which amazes me if you have the good sense to run. But look at that. Look at that. So instead of calling 911 or police, what do? They grab guns and they take off. Okay, what happens next? Listen.
March 1997, the Notorious B.I.G. is in LA to promote his new album, Life After Death. Biggie shoots a video, gives a radio interview, and presents a music award. Scheduled to fly to London, he cancels and stays in LA for an after-party, accompanied by a Bad Boy Records entourage including D-Rock Butler, Lil Cease, Gene Deal, Tone Jacobs, Stevie J, and Sean Puffy Combs.
Duane Keefe D. Davis claims credit for Tupac's murder on BET and in his memoir. He says Puffy Combs wanted Knight and Tupac's heads after their diss track Hit 'Em Up. When Davis offers to carry out the hits, Combs agrees to pay him $1 million. According to Davis, Eric Zip Martin, a New York drug dealer, suggests they have the perfect opportunity to carry out Puffy's hit and even provides the gun. Davis, Anderson, Terrence Brown, and DeAndre Smith stake out the club where Shakur is performing, but Tupac's a no-show, and the Crips abandon the plan. Driving down the strip, they spot Knight and Tupac stopped in traffic. Brown flips a U-turn in their white Cadillac. Davis passes Anderson the gun, and Anderson leans over Smith to shoot Tupac.
Okay, so bottom line, Orlando Anderson, the suspected shooter, who is Keefe D's nephew, is the trigger man, according to these newly obtained documents that name Sean Puffy Combs as ordering the hit, the $1 million hit. Now, I'm going to bring in an expert, and you may wonder why this expert right now. Her name is Shannon Henry. She's the president and founder of SAS Go, Surviving Assault Standing Strong. It's a nonprofit mission to help get rid of abuse on women and trafficking. You're hearing all of this about an alleged hit by Sean Puffy Combs. The feds say, oh, no, he's not a suspect, on Shakur. Like there's 20,000 people milling around in Vegas and nobody knows what happens. Fine. Are you surprised after you've heard about violence by Sean Puffy Combs on Cassie Ventura? This exclusive video of Cassie Ventura being viciously beaten by Sean Puffy Combs is from our friends at CNN. Kicking her, beating her, and then him issuing that, I don't even know what to call it. It's kind of more a PR statement as opposed to an apology. But there's no doubt he did it because he issues an apology.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you got to do that. I was up. I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
So now these bombshell documents have emerged from some moldy old paper box somewhere. And now we know for sure that Sean Puffy Combs is implicated in the murder of Tupac Shakur. Are you surprised? If so, why?
Not only am I not surprised, but the most important part is his victims aren't surprised, Nancy. This is 30 years ago. And if we walk through the history of Diddy through those years, we meet people like Kim Porter, who was abused by Diddy. We meet people like Cassie, Little Rod, all of these people that are in the wake of devastation of what he's done. This is just corroborating evidence for who he is and what he's capable of.
Are you saying that? Because my experience in domestic violence, very often the perp doesn't attack anyone except the female victim, the love object. But you're saying you're not surprised violence spills over in other areas of the perp's life. Explain that.
Right. And, we want to keep these things under control if we're an abuser. We want to manipulate only the person that is the object of our, I don't even want to call it affection, but our abuse. And but the problem with this is sometimes it seeps out into the rest of our lives, into his career. We see it in his career. There was a point where Steve Stout sued him, who was a record label exec, for assault. So you've got that. His social life. These are the people that he surrounded himself with. Gang members, people like that. So not only is he dangerous for what he is on the inside, which he shows to Cassie, but for what he is on the outside and the people that he surrounds himself with. And it gets all over everybody, and we're seeing it.
All these years later, and now we're hearing Sean Puffy Combs offered $1 million hit for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Now remember, feds say, no, not a suspect. That Combs is not a suspect. But I can tell you this much, to Robert Crispin, private investigator now at Crispin Special Investigations, but listen to this. Former federal task force for the United States Department of Justice, DEA, Miami Field Division, former homicide and crimes against children investigator. Okay, Robert Crispin, I know the feds are saying, yeah, he's not a suspect, but there's a big problem when your name shows up 77 times in an official court proffer as ordering a murder hit. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's a problem, but I will tell you from working cases, you got to have corroborating evidence from something other than a statement from somebody. I am nearly positive that after that information was given out, that there some type of a controlled call attempted, some type of the investigation to tie the cell phones in together back on that night, something more has to be present or more tangible that we can touch to prove it other than somebody's word, especially if they have a criminal history. It's tough. You don't want to hear it. But unfortunately, he hasn't been arrested yet, which leads me to believe that they don't have enough. Trust me, as a Fed, if I had enough to arrest you, I didn't wait. I went out and I got you. And the Feds would love to tag an arrest of P. Diddy. Trust me, they would. This has just gone too long. They just don't have that one thread that they need. That's my opinion. That's why he's not in custody.
Yeah, I hear what Crispin is saying, Daryl Cohen. But remember, Daryl Cohen, before I prosecuted felonies in inner city Atlanta, I was a Fed. I was with the Feds for 3 years. You know, on one case alone, I had a whole room full of cardboard boxes of evidence, floor to ceiling. And they still didn't move on it, for Pete's sake. I mean, so they're so slow. It's like a Byzantine labyrinth. It's insane. So I don't know. I don't know if the Feds have enough or they don't have enough. But I can tell you this much. When your name pops up nearly 80 times connecting you to a hit on Tupac Shakur, you're up the creek without a paddle. I'm surprised this guy's still walking around.
I think, Nancy, they're waiting. The magic word here is YET. They don't have enough evidence yet in their view because the Feds, you were there. I haven't been a federal prosecutor, but I certainly have been in federal court enough. You know that when they get you, they've got you. You can't move left. You can't move right. You can't move up. You can't move down. There is no movement. They have got you every which way, and that's probably what they're waiting for. And I agree. They're looking for the murderer of Tupac, but more than that, they're looking for somebody called Puff Diddy. They want him, and they want him bad. He's been associated with far more crimes, and they've executed search warrants on the East Coast, the West Coast. They want him, and they want him badly. And then they've got the other videos of him being so kind. And I say that with all facetiousness. They're going to get him, and the word is yet. They will.
Well, you know what, Daryl? I'm not holding my breath. You do know Tupac Shakur was gunned down in 1996, and nothing has happened yet. So, okay, in the meantime, listen to this.
Duane Keefe D. Davis claims credit for Tupac's murder on BET and in his memoir. He says Puffy Combs wanted Knight and Tupac's heads after their diss track Hit 'Em Up. When Davis offers to carry out the hits, Combs agrees to pay him $1 million. According to Davis, Eric Zip Martin, a New York drug dealer, suggests they have the perfect opportunity to carry out Puffy's hit and even provides the gun. Davis, Anderson, Terrence Brown, and DeAndre Smith stake out the club where Shakur's performing, but Tupac's a no-show, and the Crips abandon the plan. Driving down the strip, they spot Knight and Tupac stopped in traffic. Brown flips a U-turn in their white Cadillac. Davis passes Anderson the gun, and Anderson leans over Smith to shoot Tupac.
Davis' public claims about Tupac's murder reinvigorate the case. Vegas police search Keefe D's home in Henderson, Nevada. Among items seized are computers, hard drives, and magazine articles about Tupac and his death. After a grand jury, Duane Davis is arrested for murder.
I can't believe this. Lauren Conlon, it took Keefe D claiming credit for Tupac's murder not only on BET, but in his memoirs. He wrote about it. It took that to reinvigorate, their words, not mine, the case. There's his book, Compton Street Legend, where he admits to his part in Tupac's murder. What, you have to go on BET and confess to murder before you can get arrested? Man, you cannot get arrested in that town.
Oh, yeah. And just so you know, he was still bragging about it as he was being taken out in cuffs in 2023. But Nancy, I want to point something out. The fight at the MGM, that happened because allegedly Orlando Anderson stole a Death Row Records medallion. These were very important. There were bounties for these medallions. So they were getting revenge on Orlando Anderson. And also, it should be known that Keefe D is not actually in this video.
Put her up. Okay, let me understand what Lauren Collins just said. Now, Lauren Collins, O.J. Simpson, is a double killer. We all know that. But then, after he skated on those charges, he then goes and does an armed robbery and an aggravated assault with one of my old co-defendants that I put behind bars on trafficking drugs, Charles Ehrlich. They get together and go commit an armed robbery in Vegas over what they claim was sports paraphernalia souvenirs that really belonged to Simpson. And that was the justification. Okay, you're telling me, oh, well, this happened because Orlando had stolen a medallion? I don't care why it happened.
True. I want to clarify that, though. I wanted to just put that out there. And also,
don't
the
care.
feud between Death Row Records and Bad Boy Records, this is also important. It's like the Bloods and the Crips here. These two record labels were at odds. They were hugely competitive. And in my opinion here, I mean, Diddy, you know, he had a lot to lose if Death Row Records did better than Bad Boy Records.
Second verse, same as the first. Don't care why Tupac Shakur was gunned down. Don't care. There is no justification for cold-blooded murder. I don't care who stole whose rap medallion. Don't care. Don't care about their feud. They're all rolling in millions of dollars. What are they fighting about? A vicious fight broke out and one side vowed revenge. My only question right now to Hay with a medallion or a feud, don't care. All I care about right now is, did Sean Puffy Combs order this hit? Please join us on our mission to find missing people, especially children, to solve unsolved homicides. If you're on the go, catch us on your favorite podcast app where you can get all of our content where we, in our own way, seek justice.
Keefe D claims Diddy paid $1 million to have Tupac eliminated.
I'll tell you this much. If my name popped up 77 times in documents, in court documents belonging to the feds, I would be worried right now. To Lauren Collins joining us, host of the Outlier podcast, investigative reporter, isn't it true that Sean Puffy Combs has taken everything down from his social media except for one happy birthday wish to his daughter?
Oh, yeah. And he has his LA mansion for sale. I mean, he is keeping a low profile right now. It's also been said that he has obtained 3 different law offices. I mean, why do you need 3, Nancy?
I think I know why. Guys, did Combs order the hit on Tupac Shakur? Did he offer $1 million payday to whoever would kill his rival? And yes, Shakur died immediately thereafter, according to evidence. Now, the feds insist he's not a suspect. Okay, listen to this.
Within the first few months of the investigation, our detectives knew most of the information I just briefed you on. However, we never had the necessary evidence to bring this case forward and present it for criminal charges. It wasn't until 2018 that this case was reinvigorated as additional information came to light related to this homicide. Specifically, Duane Davis's own admissions to his involvement in this homicide investigation that he provided to numerous different media outlets. Duane Davis was the shot caller for this group of individuals that committed this crime, and he orchestrated the plan that was carried out to commit this crime.
You're hearing Vegas Police Lieutenant, that's Jason Johansson speaking. echoing what we heard private investigator, former Fed Robert Crispin saying, that they are looking for just the right connection to tie the assassination of Tupac Shakur to Sean Puffy Combs. Does it even exist? Feds keep insisting he's not a suspect. You know, Daryl Cohen, you ever heard the phrase from Shakespeare, methinks thou doth protest too much? I didn't ask them, is Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs, a murder suspect in Shakur's murder? They just keep putting it out there. He's not a suspect. He's not a suspect.
He's not a suspect till he becomes a defendant. Nancy, Yogi Berra once said, it ain't over till it's over, and it ain't even close to being over. You just wait, and Sean Puffy Combs is not going to be a suspect ever until he's a defendant. You just wait. Time will tell. And it's certainly been 28 years, so another 6 months or a year doesn't matter. The more pressure that he is under, the more he is going to start wilting and freaking out if he does what I predict he's going to do. And we'll see.
Karen Stark joining me, renowned psychologist at KarenStark.com. Karen, we earlier heard investigative reporter Lauren Conlon trying to make some feeble attempt to explain why the nephew, Orlando Anderson, who's Keefe D, Davis's younger nephew, why he was beaten up so viciously at the MGM Grand following the Tyson fight. That reportedly Orlando Anderson had stolen a gold, I don't mean golden, I mean gold medallion, some rap medallion. So he was being attacked. Why does that matter? Under the law, revenge is not a defense to murder.
And let's look at his. If you look at Sean Puffy Combs' background, right? This is a nefarious, narcissistic guy who got away with abusing women, doing all kinds of things. It doesn't really matter, Nancy, although I could see they find excuses, but they are looking to destroy each other. They're competitive, and it's not a professional organization where they just do their best to do a good job. They are angry. This is how they are going about their lives. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ordered this hit. They've been saying that for years. Let's just hope that they actually get him and find something that brings him to justice.
Okay, so guys, earlier you were hearing how in the middle of this bond hearing, a bail hearing, Duane Davis's bail, he interrupts the judge, okay, to stop this from coming out. Listen.
Clark County prosecutors' opposition to Duane Davis's bail mentioned Sean Combs nearly 80 times. They argue Davis should not get bail because he admits he orchestrated Shakur's murder on the promise of payment from Combs. During a hearing, Davis cuts off Judge Carly Kearney to argue his claims about Diddy made during a 2008 proffer agreement should not be allowed into evidence now.
Mr. Craig Hayden had them boxes at his house for 15 years in his attic, doing all kind of TV interviews. He broke a proffer agreement.
Duane Davis jumps up and starts interrupting the judge. Okay, to you, Lauren Conlon, what happened there?
That was interesting, Nancy. He was clearly very upset and very nervous at what was about to happen. Not only that, Nancy, Cash Jones, who is an entertainment rapper, had already said, I'm going to put up 15% of your bail, Duane Davis. And allegedly, this was because he wanted, once Duane got out, he wanted him to be part of this television series, this documentary. And the judge also was like, wait a minute, no way, you're not doing either. So Keefe D, he realizes at this point, he is in a world of garbage.
Law enforcement says Diddy is not and never has been a suspect in the killing of Tupac.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, but in a 179-page filing, it's revealed that Duane Davis confessed to Tupac's murder and implicated Sean Puffy Combs. So, Are they going to rely on their own documents or not? Listen.
Prosecutors' 179-page filing reveals that Duane Davis confessed to Tupac's murder 10 years prior to his public statements. 2008, Davis is charged for his participation in an LAPCP ring, facing 25 years in prison. The LAPD offers him a proffer agreement regarding the 1996 drive-by shooting of Shakur. Davis details the planning, attack, and aftermath of the shooting, down to a confirmation call from Puffy, who allegedly asked, "Was that us?"
Okay, did you hear that? To Shannon Henry joining us, president founder SASS Surviving Assault Standing Strong, reportedly after the hit, after Tupac's been shot, it took him 6 days to die. This happened in 1996. According to Davis, there was a confirmation call, a phone call from Sean Puffy Combs after he hears Tupac's been hit, and he says, quote, "Was that us? Like somebody else has a hit?"
That's right. That's right. And this is all in line with how he behaves, making sure that everything's being followed through with, making sure that the directives he gives are followed. My fear is that it's not what you know, but what you can prove. And my hope is that this ties him directly to what has happened to Tupac. Now, my other fear is, with all of this coming out, that people are going to forget the history of Diddy and what he's done, and that this distracts us from the decades of violence and abuse. And I just pray that this is corroborating evidence and that our victims will finally see justice, all of them.
You know, another thing, and you don't normally have this, to Robert Crispin and Daryl Cohen, I think you agree with me, you don't normally get evidence on tape. But guess what? We've got it. Listen.
We'll wipe their out quick, it's nothing.
Who brought up the amount of $1 million?
He did.
Puffy did?
Yeah.
So Lauren Collin joining me, investigative reporter, we are actually hearing, and this is all the way from 2008. 2008. You hear Davis stating that Combs ordered the hit. Explain what we're hearing.
Correct. In 2008, he gave this interview stating, or Keefe D gave this interview stating that they were hanging out in California, a group of people. They were in a room, and Puffy said, he went by Puffy at the time, "I would give anything for Suge's head." He said Suge, perhaps that Tupac as well, but we all know what happened after that. Now, Keefe D also claimed that he never got the money, Nancy. He never got this $1 million. Eric Zip Martin got this money. This is very interesting as well. Okay. Go ahead.
Put her up. Put her up. Do I care if a hitman didn't get paid? No. Let's hear the interview again, please.
He said he'd give us anything for them dudes there. He said it in front of all those people. I couldn't believe it. A whole room full of Crips. We'll wipe their out quick. It's nothing.
Who brought up the amount of $1 million?
He did.
Puffy did?
Yeah.
Okay, let me state, it's kind of grainy. He says, quote, "He said he'd give us anything for them dudes' head. He said it in front of all them people. I couldn't believe it. A whole room full of Crips. We'll wipe their ass out quick, it's nothing." Question, who brought up the amount of $1 million? Davis. He did. Detective. Puffy did, Davis? Yeah. Okay, listen to the rest.
Tupac. We like, there they go. Made the U-turn, pulled up on the side, checked every car to see where they was.
Biggie ever involved in any of these conversations about hitting
No.
Tupac? Okay, it's always just Puff and Zip.
Yeah. This is all Puffy's doing. Yeah.
Okay, to Lauren Collin, what are we hearing there?
We are hearing that Keefe D implicates Puffy and says this is all Puffy's doing. And listen, I believe it. Do they really want us to think that Keefe D masterminded this entire thing? I mean, do you hear him speak? I, for one, completely believe that Puffy masterminded this, even though he's not a suspect. But yeah, this goes back, and this could be a big conspiracy to commit murder charge.
Sean Diddy Combs' legal team has been notified that he is the subject of a federal investigation. The notification implies that Combs is, quote, within the scope of an investigation, but not a, quote, target. That designation can be upgraded or downgraded as the investigation continues. A grand jury is reportedly hearing evidence tied to the investigation, but there is no indication that any charges are pending.
Similar to what Shannon Henry from SAS and Karen Stark, renowned psychologists, have stated, violence seemingly spills over into other areas of Sean Puffy Combs' life. Listen.
Vibe magazine editor-in-chief Danielle Smith has Combs pose in angel wings to go with the tagline "The Good, the Bad, and the Puffy" for the cover of the December 97, January 98 double issue. A few days before the release, Combs insists on approving the cover. Vibe denies his request, and Smith later receives a phone call from Combs threatening to see her, quote, dead in the trunk of a car. Her co-workers rush to hide Smith, afraid of what Diddy and his posse might do.
So let me understand this. Sean Puffy Combs, according to this female magazine editor-in-chief at Vibe magazine, Danielle Smith, she sets up a cover shoot for him. He wants to approve it. She says, no, we don't do that. And he threatens that he will see her dead in the trunk of a car. Okay, Karen Stark, what about it?
No surprise, Nancy. This is his response to everything. Think about it. You do something wrong, you cross his path, and he is going to say, okay, you're ending up in the car, you're ending up shot, you're ending up something, threatening people, and he gets away with it for years, along with abusing the women, because he's so charming. Everybody thinks he's so wonderful, but not anymore. It's all catching up with him.
And of course, what a coinky-dink. The next morning, the Vibe office is trashed. Listen.
The next morning, staffers find the Vibe office broken into and all of its servers stolen. The entire issue is gone. Editors immediately suspect Combs and his bad boy crew are behind the robbery. Luckily, an employee saved a copy to a personal drive, and the magazine makes its delivery for print. Smith says at the time she did not realize the extent of the potential danger Combs posed, but now looks back on the incident unnerved.
What a coinky-dink, right? And remember, according to the feds, Sean Puffy Combs, a.k.a. Diddy, is not a suspect in the murder of Tupac Shakur. We stop and remember an American hero, Corporal Muhammad Saeed of Melvindale Police, Michigan. Just 26, he is shot dead in the line of duty, survived by grieving parents and siblings. American hero, Corporal Muhammad Saeed. Thank you to all of our guests for being with us, but especially you and our MSM family for being with us tonight and every night. Nancy Gray signing off. I'll see you tomorrow night, 6 and 9 o'clock sharp Eastern, and until then, good night, friend. Please join us on our mission to find missing people, especially children, to solve unsolved homicides. If you're on the go, catch us on your favorite podcast app where you can get all of our content where we, in our own way, seek justice.